Hi, Archita. Thank you so much for being on show. And this is my first podcast, and I'm really thankful that I got you as my guest. And regarding Archita, she is working in marketing, B2B marketing for around some 20 years. And she's a very good expert on product marketing part. And I got met with Archita around some 2 months back through my video. I was doing a lot of LinkedIn videos, and I got a chance to connect with a lot of influencers here. And the first one was Archita. And see, rather than the marketing stuff, I would say like she's a very great human being. And the thing is, in the first call itself, she changed my mindset. That is a big thing I got from her because I was having a perspective regarding the client acquisition part and the pricing I have to charge. And within some 30 minutes, she was able to change my mindset. So rather than as a great marketing expert, I would see herself as a great human being. So thank you so much, Archita. Thank you so much for being on the show. Shall we start?
Yes, I'm really honored to be your first guest on here, Bhuvanesh. And yes, I'm always fascinated by how LinkedIn brings people together. Excited to dive in.
Yeah. So let's start with the first question. Since you're an expert on product marketing, I think probably we'll be focusing on that part, B2B product marketing. So let me start the first question regarding the product marketing foundation. For example, a lot of people be new to this specific terminology, right? So how do you define product marketing in the B2B space? And why do you believe it is very much important for the businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think of product marketing in B2B specifically, there are a few different ways which you can look at it. You're either looking at bringing a product to market, right? That's what the product marketing function does at a very simple level. So it could be bringing a new product for the first time, an existing product to a new audience, or an existing product with a new strategy, or a new or existing product into a brand new market, right? So it could look very different. And when you think about the B2B space specifically, it's when you're bringing the product to market, it's understanding the needs of the customer always. So the customer is the center of all the decisions we make in product marketing, or I would say in marketing in general. And this is critical because product marketing, in the experiences I've had, I mean, it serves as that bridge between the product and the customer. So you have your product team, or you have your business development team, your customer success team, your technology team. And I see product marketing sitting at the center of it, gathering all of this information, all of this feedback, and communicating value across multiple stakeholders to back to the technology team to improve the existing product, or to the marketing team in order to identify how we communicate value this product drives for the customers themselves. Does that that's what I would say at a very
Yeah, that
high
makes
level.
a lot of sense. As you said, we have to work with the multiple stakeholders, and we have to understand that we have to work with the marketing team, we have to work with the sales team, we have to work with the actual customers who are using the product. So we'll be getting a lot of inputs, and basically we have to get all these inputs, and then we have to work on that, probably like a go-to-market strategy for this product. Correct. So let us move to the next question. I would like to know about the role of product marketing. So, see, you have got a lot of experience on this, around some more than some 15 years experience on this. So, what do you think, like how this role of product marketing has evolved according to your expertise and experience, especially the rise of recent the digital transformation and more focused on the customer centric strategies?
Yeah. So evolution is an interesting question because I feel like every time I speak to a new client or I speak to certain markets, it's shocking to me how little effort is spent into product marketing, because a lot of founders, etc., go from I have an amazing idea, I'm going to go find customers to sell it, and then boom, they just go and they do it. And I'll probably repeat this a couple of times, but there is this really great quote from Seth Godin that says, "Don't find customers for your products, find products for your customers." And I think this is the gift I would give the audience, is that this is so critical. No matter how amazing you think your product is, etc., really recognize the fact that engaging with a market research company, you can start small by just picking up the phone and talking to potential ideal customer profiles that you envision are appropriate. But a better way to almost do it is what I call like customer centered design thinking, right? This is very popularized. It's across numerous different industries, but I see this missing a lot. And my focus in B2B has been in medtech, life sciences, manufacturing, and AI. But I noticed that even across the board, it's not the standard practice of leading from the customer to recognize in their current environment what are some of the problems that exist today, and what are some of the challenges that exist today. And what we instead do is we look at an environment, and not we, but what I see a lot of companies do is they look at an environment and they're like, I think this product could work great. Now the companies that do it really well, they lead with that customer centric approach. And so, irrespective of what might change, what technological advances might come along, etc., if you cannot lead with a customer first perspective, time and again, when you're making your marketing strategy, when you're putting your business strategy together, you're really losing the opportunity to have enduring value for your customers in the market. And
Absolutely.
I'll just probably add one more. I've noticed this, that in a lot of companies, they may not have, so they may have a product team and they will have a marketing team, but they don't have someone who's got the core responsibilities for product marketing. And they really do feel the gap. The reason why they feel the gap is because I mentioned this, like, think about it as a Venn diagram and your product marketing is in the middle. When all of these different functions are around you and they're learning insights, they're engaging with customers in this from the CSR standpoint, the customer success reps or the business development reps or your marketing team, no one is connecting all of those dots, bringing it back to product. And product might be going and talking to someone as well. So it's really critical you have that function, because otherwise your strategy to grow your audience, to grow your customer, is like that spray and pray strategy, which is not what you want.
So true. Everything has to start with the customer, right? And as you said, even though you have got a great core marketing team and a great sales team, definitely as a product marketer, I think they should be acting like an intersection between those two, right? Because they act like intersection between the marketing and sales, and they have to talk to the ideal customers who are the actual product users to get the actual insights so that they can bring on the product and they can improve that much better. Correct.
Yes.
Let's move to the third question regarding the bridging the gap. As you said right now, product marketing often sits at the intersection of product development, marketing, and sales. How can we ensure that effective communication and alignment really happens between these three people who develop the product and the marketing and the sales?
Yes, absolutely. I have this little thing I share a lot, which is there are only two truths about collaboration. Like, if you want to collaborate, seek to understand overall business goals. If you want to collaborate, ladder your marketing KPIs up to the business KPIs. When they sit in a vacuum outside of that, where you're like, oh, I have some marketing goals and I have some separate business goals, then you're not driving in alignment to deliver what the business needs. So it's very critical. And I think it makes some marketers very uncomfortable. But this is a product marketing responsibility without a doubt. So when you think about your product manager, they're creating value, they're developing the product vision, they're identifying value proposition, your feature prioritization, and the users, right? So they're kind of maybe leading that. Your product marketer is like communicating the value of that thing that has been crafted, right? They're
Right.
developing that go to market plan based on that product vision. They're working with marketing to drive brand advocacy. Like, where does this sit overall? What does that pricing acquisition look like? And then how do you establish positioning within what we know? So when you bring these two together, product managers and product marketers, you're looking at how do we drive better retention? What does that strategy look like? And what does that roadmap look like? And how do we consistently evolve and iterate this based on the research we collect from these other teams? And so when we look at a sales, right, because so we have product marketing, we have a product, we have sales, and I'm just putting sales in one bucket with CSRs and BD. There was a HubSpot study that was done in 2017, and it said that there was a 32% increase in revenue year over year for teams that collaborated across sales and marketing. So teams that reported that they had very clear sales and marketing alignment, they saw a 32% increase in revenue. It just boggles my mind when these two teams specifically work in such a vacuum, or sales gatekeeps the engagement with
Mm.
customers. I've been in some industries and some worked with some clients wherein they'd never spoken, marketing had never spoken to a customer. I just, I'm like, what are you marketing to? In sales is an internal customer. Don't get me wrong, but you are actually talking to your external customer. So I would say it's really
Yeah.
critical that you like bring those two together, and collaborate is extremely critical there. I am going to add a couple of ways in which folks can drive collaboration. Is this okay?
Yeah. Great. Please.
If you were to look at like your marketing plan today, right, your product marketing plan today for your product at the moment, look at your goals and identify, are they just marketing goals? So they're just marketing KPIs, etc., that I mentioned earlier. If they are, know that it's going to have extremely limited impact. But then talk to either your finance partner, talk to your sales partner, talk to your business leader, and identify how do we drive business plus marketing like goal synergy, because this is extremely critical. If you can translate, because sure, you want to have some marketing KPIs, don't get me wrong, but overall you need to have at least one to two business KPIs that bring these two together.
Yeah.
Because when you as you know, when you think about this goal synergy, when everybody in the business is aligned on the customer problems they're seeking to solve, you're all working towards driving that right kind of customer demand. When everyone is aligning on what makes that qualified customer, right? Can you imagine this whole MQL SQL dance that constantly goes on? But when you're aligned on what makes a qualified customer, you improve efficiency, right? And then when you're aligned on that right product mix, 'cause especially if you have a multi-product universe across your organization, if you don't have alignment, like, okay, 80% of our revenues are going to come from this product versus this, then there's a disconnect between what marketing and product marketing are trying to drive versus what sales is trying to do, which will impact your profitability.
Yeah.
And then finally, I would say is that you got to develop specific non-conflicting metrics that are not subjective, because this really ensures that you can help all march towards delivering those results as well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent insights, Archita. I think I'm learning a lot. So the thing is, as you said in the conversation, you said like in the middle, like we have got external customers, we have got internal customers, and you referred sales are the best internal customers, and the marketing has no idea about what really happening outside. Probably like they don't not have talking to the external customers, they're not talking to the internal customers as well. So that is a clear sign of the not having not an alignment there. Excellent insights, Archita. Thank you. So let's move to the next question here. So regarding, I mean, like the sales and marketing collaboration, right? So in your experience, can you share an example where the collaboration between the sales and marketing, led to a significant win or a learning experience for the past 15 years? I think you'd be having a lot of instances to mention. Probably one of the experiences, like, and what are the key success factors behind it?
Absolutely. So I'll share an example from med device, so medical devices, and I'll share this example rooted in the fact that the key success that this collaboration was successful is because both sales and marketing approach it from what's right for the customer. What does that customer need? What does that market need? So we had a situation in the US where there was a product that was a part of the product mix, but was on the low tier of the product mix. Okay, so it has been around for almost 15, 20 years, maybe even more at that point, probably 25 years. But it rounded off the portfolio, but was not a must have in the portfolio. And there were key hospitals and sites across the US specifically where this particular product was very valuable. Okay. And this was specifically associated with trauma. So for patients who went through trauma, like an accident, a limb that got cut off or whatever, this particular product helped them in trauma. This company made products for the entire continuum of care of patients, right? Not just trauma patients, but patients across the board. But they've had this product for a while. They had some sales reps who loved selling this product, but they had two or three accounts in the entire US, but those two or three accounts generated significant sales volume for them, which was really
Correct.
important. So for their quotas and their commissions. But when you think about what I call product lifecycle management, it didn't make sense to keep dragging a product like this that had really terrible margins, was taking up
Hmm.
assembly line space, so really not helping with operational efficiency at all. And we were not able to cycle out this product just because certain key sales team members and certain key markets were really tied to this. So instead of just being like, okay, let's just stop working on it and pissing off a bunch of people, the team really collaborated, and we looked at it at a very global level. And it ties into, when you think about collaboration, you think about entering new markets, don't limit your lens only to the existing market, right? So when we went and focused from the point of the customer, we first recognized, why has this product not grown over time? What has been the driving factor? And we recognized the way in which trauma patients were being taken care of has evolved over time. But the US has not evolved with how they catch up to that, like, patient care evolution. But the UK, South Africa, and Dubai had, and Singapore actually, had made significant strides in their accident and emergency rooms. So in their emergency rooms with taking care of these trauma patients. So they had evolved new methodologies of how quickly they can take care of trauma patients. And the reason, I'm actually not going to go down the rabbit hole of why this matters, but they had made strides. So what we identified was, okay, let's go do what we call voice of customer. in these regions, while these are not our
Right.
top selling regions right now, we believe they have huge opportunity to help offset what's happening here in the US and then help all of the US team members maybe double, triple their sales volume by learning and improving the quality of care and creating a product that could drive that. So that was the first time ever we developed a product from the bottom up using voice of customer globally that like outside of the US that helped inform decision making in the US with regards to a key product. We decided not to retire the product. Instead, it decided to like launch a new version of the product. And our sales moved from like 8 million a year to almost 75 million a
Hmm.
year, right? Which is
Wow.
significant. And we entered, I think, 120 plus markets. And it became the number one way in which we entered emergency room, the part of the continuum of care through the emergency rooms, because we truly focused on that customer centered design approach. We went and tried to understand like where are people solving this customer's problems better around the customer, not necessarily with the product yet, but around the customer. Now how do we go create a product that could also bring the US up to par with all these other regions and how they're doing? And we drove sales in regions that we hadn't done before that were critical markets for us. So I think there's huge opportunity when you look at it from the outside in. So if you think about yourself as a customer versus only thinking of yourself as the business and how do I hit my quota?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's a great example. So I think my next question is almost like related to I think what exactly that you're mentioning at this moment. So let me tell the question for you. So the thing is regarding the challenges in the new market. Okay, so when you expand the new markets, it can be you'll be facing a lot of challenges. Something will be expected and something will totally unexpected. So what are some of the common challenges that you have faced, and how what kind of steps that you have taken to navigate it?
Yeah. So, there are lots of challenges when you're entering new market. You have language barriers, regulatory challenges, cultural differences that they all are
Yeah.
consistent across any kind of industry, whether it be B to B to C, whatever. Anytime a customer is involved, like we're all different people, right? So when you're navigating this, I think what's really critical is that local expertise and creating strategies that have some level of flexibility, right? So if it's the first time you're entering into a new market, a great way to enter into a new market is through partnerships because it builds credibility.
Mm.
So it could be a distributor partnership, it could be a joint venture, it could look very different. But one of the things I want to get out of the way is that when you're entering new markets, translation is not and localization is not the same. A lot of times people
Yeah.
assume, I'm entering, they say Europe. Europe is not one market, first of all. It's like a
Mm.
slew of many different countries. So they're like, I'm entering Europe. So I'm going to translate it to German, French, Spanish, Portuguese, or an Italian, right? And if I choose to go to the Nordic countries, I'll translate it to Swedish, Danish, and then I'm all set. But that is not localization, it's translation. So it is really important that organizations identify that in order to create those economies of scale across these various markets, that you recognize that difference between translation and localization to truly win in the market itself. And one of the filters in which I've seen this happen when you're trying to understand the situation in the local market with local expertise is identify if this particular market needs to be modeled under either an anchor, grow, build, or scale strategy. So it's fine the way it is. It's just like an anchor region for us. We build with what we have. Like maybe I'm making a big maybe, like a UK market might be very similar, maybe, which is very unlikely, but maybe
Mm.
to the US market. So you anchor in, it's like the kind of center of what you're trying to do and you build it out. Then the grow, build, and scale. But what's, I think, one of the challenges they face here, a lot of organizations face when they're coming in is they don't recognize what I call like the three C's, which is like the culture, commerce, and communication. There are lots, they assume translation will help them combat the culture. Can I give you an example of
Yeah,
one of
please.
this, right? So we had a product that was widely successful globally, again, in med devices, in hospitals. And it was a product that was used to move patients from point A to point B in a hospital. So it's called a hospital stretcher, is what this is called. So it seems like a simple product, right? Like you put a patient on a piece of metal, plastic, and whatever, and you move them from point A to point B. But there was like a lot of value involved in there because a lot of times people are pushing patients within a hospital across long distances, right? So there are issues associated with ergonomics, musculoskeletal disorders, etc. So we had created and we had put like a motor in the product so that you just press a button and you push it. So it's like less strain on the caregiver's back while they're trying to push the patient. So in the rest of the world, you push the patient with the feet facing forward, right? So my hand is here, head is here,
Mm-hmm.
and the feet is facing forward. So
Yeah.
we CE mark this product, we bring it to Europe, and we think, oh my God, we're going to win. Like it's a no brainer. Like we're going to improve efficiency, we're going to save costs because less people are going to be out of work, etc., etc. We enter the French market, and they're just like, what the heck? Are you taking everybody to die? We're like, what do you mean? In French culture, when you push a patient with their feet facing that way, it means you're taking them to the morgue, you know,
Oh.
to die, because that is the French culture. So in a hospital, if a family member sees their mom and dad being pushed, they think they're dead. And so they're like, you can't do that. We cannot. This is not going to work for us. And we did not seek to understand that nuance because we didn't spend time. I literally say go do an anthropological study in the market, like plant yourself in the environment and watch what your customer is doing. If we had done that, we would have seen they push them with their feet right here and your hand right here, because then you know they're alive and they're moving towards health. But when you push them the other way, so we had to rewire everything and move everything to the other end to do that, which was a significantly higher cost. If we had learned and understood why this and what this culture required us to do from the get-go, and France was a critical market. So I would say that it's important to pay attention and understand that there is a balance. Like everything, there is no one right way to do it. But once you identify your key regions, don't just identify them by it's easy to CE mark or it's easy to get regulated. Those are critical, don't get me wrong, because it saves money, right? It's
Mm.
easy to register a product in a market, etc. But then don't just assume that I can translate it and boom, my job is done and we're going to like win in this market. Really try to understand what are the needs and prioritize your markets, because you can't win in every single country in the world.
Yeah, the way we think about the product and the way we market is something like exactly opposite how the customer perceives it, right? It's entirely different, right?
Yes.
Like the way you said about the culture part, I think that is really interesting part. Yeah. So let's move to the next question here. So regarding the emerging trends, okay. So right now it's like the B2B and landscape is like evolving, right? So do you notice some emerging trends or technologies in product marketing or market expansion, that really capture your attention and that really gets you excitement part.
Yeah, I mean, there are so I always say this, like trends are trend. They come along and then they like move away. Like with any trend, like whether it be using AI to make better decisions, right? To make faster decisions or to summarize learnings from the market. Sure, use all of these methodologies 100%. Always embrace new technology to make your job easier, faster, etc. But at the end of the day, with product marketing, if you don't do the work to understand your customer, these trends are moot. They don't matter. And so, with regards to product marketing itself, like one of the things, I mean, it's not emerging in any way, shape, or form, but I think organizations are paying more attention to this. Is that we all know that in B2B, decisions are made, like 75% of the decision is already made before they even engage with the sales team, right? So they've done a bunch of research already, the B2B buyers, because the nuance with B2B is that it's not just one stakeholder, right? Like in B2C, it might be maybe two, because I might be the one that wants to use it and the decision maker is maybe my daughter, making up stuff right now. So there might be a nuance there in B2C, but in B2B, there are multiple stakeholders, right? And there are multiple pain points that you have to hit with these multiple stakeholders. So, what is really critical for organizations to recognize is that across these different stakeholders, there's a significantly higher emotional connection than even B2C. And we really don't recognize this because we think that, oh, okay, it's B2B. So we think we're interacting with a brick and mortar, but we're interacting with people whose careers depend on this decision, you know, and their livelihood for their family. So it's almost more of an emotional connection. And I think organizations are recognizing this. And this is one to like really, really tune into. There was a stat I was reading recently about this was in B2B, the emotional decision making, they had a rating was 1.4 versus rational, which was zero point 0.2. Okay, it was on a point
Hmm.
system of two or something like that. So they place the way in which they make their decisions are more emotionally driven than rationally sometimes. Sure, they look at stats, they go do it this or whatever, but their credibility, their reputation, all depends on if they make a right or wrong decision. So as an organization, I would say yes, there are trends, there are AI, there's like a billion different things, but don't forget the human involved in making those decisions as you look to growing your organization in new markets and existing ones.
Excellent insights, Archita. So, regarding the one thing that you said, and I can completely resonate with that. In a home, you'll be having emotional connection with the dad, the daughter, right? Like when you go to sell the product, it's like a connection between all of them. The same thing in B2B. For example, there'll be a CTO, a CEO, a CMO, right?
Yeah.
So definitely when you're going to buy the product, definitely this connection between these two people, these three people or four people, right? It is definitely going to influence the buying decision. And definitely that is purely emotional, correct?
Yeah, it's you have a user, you have a decision maker, right? And you have an influencer in every B2B
Yeah.
decision making. So it's critical as an organization to understand what are the emotional like triggers for a user. Maybe it's ease of use. So how do I ensure I'm communicating consistently? This is really easy to use. For the decision maker, it might be like my what's it called? My budget cycle goes through, and my performance is going to be evaluated on how well the product was received. So, did this drive the ROI it said it was going to do in order for me to get my next promotion, my next whatever? So, be aware of that. And then you have the influencer, right? The influencer wants to be seen is probably very critical to the decision for sure. But maybe their emotional trigger is they want to be seen as the go to, the thought leader in this space. So, how do you really build that and work with that? So, across the board, recognize there's always more than one customer in B2B, without a doubt. And how do you drive that human connection with every one of them in helping them make their decision making that much easier?
Excellent, excellent, Archita. So I think we have come to the last question here. So the thing is for B2B business, okay, looking to strengthen their product marketing efforts or expanding the new market. So what is the kind of advice that you will give for them, or any best practice that you would recommend, or any resources or tools that you find in your experience that you find really valuable?
Yeah, yeah. So, with regards to how to improve your product marketing, I would say first actually start with creating a product marketing function. A lot of companies don't even have a product marketing function now, and I think this is really important. So, do a workforce planning exercise or bring in someone to help you through that process into adopting this particular function. But once you have the function, I would say create a established process or framework that you can make repeatable, where there is consistent alignment between product marketing and sales. Now, this is very important. So there are many approaches out there in the market. I'm going to name a couple that I'm more partial to, but no one's paying me for this. I'm just saying I enjoy using this with my clients. One is the big picture methodology, wherein we go, it literally is what it says. It's a big picture. Look at the big picture from a business strategy standpoint, and then identify how marketing helps drive that consistently over time. That comes out of the US. And then there's another one that's called the pragmatic marketing framework. I would argue it's not very pragmatic, but it helps you answer very important questions around what's the market, what's your strategy, what is the business, how do you plan around it, and then what are the programs and the support you need to continue to sustain it. So there are a few different frameworks that exist out there. So one, create a function that actually exists, then create like shared goals between all these functions. That is extremely critical. Two, utilize or create and develop a framework that you can implement consistently for all your new product launches, evaluations, etc. But at the root of all of this, also recognize that one of one of the most this like this what is it called, the saying that I always say, or like I share a lot about with regards to product marketing, which is the market isn't attached to what you think your product is. The market wants to know what your product can do for them.
Got
You
it.
know, I'm going to say that again. The market isn't attached to what you think the product is. So you can think a lot of things, you can say a lot of things. They want to know what your product can do for them. So when you're even starting your product marketing activities to all the way, your marketing activities translate that what you can do for them, and then you win consistently in the market.
Absolutely, actually, that's a great ending that you said. It's all about them. It's all about the customers, right? Definitely. So, so thing is, if anyone watching this podcast, like if they really want to have a product in mind, and probably they develop the product, or probably they already approach the market, and if they want to go to the next level with a great product marketing expert like you, okay, so how can they reach you? Is that can be reached the LinkedIn profile? So I can put your LinkedIn profile in the YouTube video.
Yeah, please include my LinkedIn profile. Please reach out to me via LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. If you want to learn a little bit about me, I would say just engage with my LinkedIn content. There's always like lots of great content. But I do have 3 giveaways as well that's on my website. It's free. You can just take this, and I think it could really help get you started. The first one is on a product marketing checklist, like your bare minimal, I call it minimal viable marketing. So if you want to get started, you don't have anything, you can download that checklist. The other one is collaboration, just what we were talking about. If you are trying to improve your collaboration between teams, there's a little giveaway that I have there as well. And the third one is on global to local strategy flywheel. So if you're trying to enter new markets, what are the things you need to consider? So for each of the kinds of customers where they are at, please take it. It's free. It's for you to use. It would really help. And if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And my website is readysetbold.com. And so that's readysetbold.com.
Excellent. I will include the LinkedIn profile and your website link and the checklist, the link that you mentioned, all these things on the YouTube, that profile, that video description there. So that marks the end of my first podcast here. So I'm really happy. So thank you so much, Archita. It was, I think, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to see how this grows. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Archita. Take care.